All right, I'm going to some things here today. We had a new update, big update. Really, really good, really good. A new ground combo that looks solid. So I'll go into that a little bit, and then I want to go ahead and discuss builds because I've been getting a lot of questions about how should I build, and my system was, well, I'll get into that when I get there. So the big change, dragons now to level 20, champions now to a new level, which is nice. And I did get the new one. My goal was to get the dragon. I didn't want to spend much this event, and I understand for the non-coiners, like I get it. It sucks. I get it. I do. Because a majority of servers, like this is how it works, 80 to 90% of your server is either not going to coin or be a Litecoiner. And then the rest of them are the ones that are going to build up. They're going to be your gladiators. They're going to fight in SVS. They're going to push in Battlefield. It is what it is. So with this being said, this new one, she's fairly solid. Range troop and siege HP. That's always nice to have, especially in your city. I'm of the belief, like, the better you can get your HP in city, the better you can survive. And then you can use your build to manipulate what they send to you in a rally or a solo and manipulate it to your advantage and how you're set up. When attacking enemy, mounted troop attack, that's a pretty good one. Defending ground and mounted troop defense and HP, that's really good. Training speed is kind of the sacrifice here because it's not very good. But in a lot of these, like being able to bump up to the next level is going to be helpful. So I picked and chose what would help me the most, and those are the ones that I bumped up. Let's see, this one, I bumped her up for some reason. I'm guessing it was for single time 5-0 enemy, ground, and mounted troop. Probably the range and siege defense and HP. That's probably what I did. So this is a big update. Like, this is going to be helpful. It's just with them being all the way up to 20, it's going to be a process to build them further. And then same with the dragons. The dragons, especially like if you were lucky enough to get this guy in All-Stars, I did finally get him to the next level. So with that being said, like, that gave me a little bit more attack, defense, HP, la-di-da-di, everybody. It's going to be helpful with the siege as well. Like, I'm close there. I got a lot of talents to add to him, though, so that is a thing to deal with. So these are two really big, really good updates. And then I feel like the new dragon, I feel like when you look at his skills, we have two options here. Like, it's defense and HP, and it's marching. So with that being said, it could be used as a reinforce, or it could be used as a poor man's Nidhogg. For me, long game, I feel like it's the debuff. That's what I'm using him for, and I've got him in a sub-city already. So extra siege machine HP debuff, which is solid. And then when you do go into the talents, it does lean towards debuff, ground and mounted troop defense debuff. And I'm a player that I mainly debuff archer and siege. So with this dragon, I was like, well, this is a way to get some extra debuff, which I need. And then, siege machine defense, being able to do this through this dragon is a lot easier and a lot better, in my opinion, than using gear and or subsidy generals to do that. And then the last one is going to be marching mounted troop defense, which is handy, and then in-city mounted troop attack. And with that, I feel like the in-city refers to the main city, but if it does affect all the sub-cities, like that's not a bad thing either. Once you have sub-cities leveled and you do have some higher tier troops, that could prove worthwhile. But for me, long-term and really short-term, because I haven't been able to get them to level 8 already, it's going to help my debuff considerably. So it's just working through it to get them built up. With that being said, the main purpose of this video and what I really wanted to talk about was your build. And people ask me, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'll explain what I did, because I'm big on reading reports and taking from the reports how you should build, because in theory, reports will tell you everything that you need to know and what you should build and what you should be doing. So in this event, or this week, I turned it into a system, and what I did is I went into my very last battlefield, and I went in. So this was the first one. So what I did, I went in, and I only got hit with 3 troop types, but that gives me a pretty good base. So the first one, I port swapped, so none of these are going to be, there won't be rains in any of these. So first one, we look at the buffs. Well, I'm not going to look at the buffs. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so this is what I did. So it was a ground rally. So I go in and I look, and I'm like, okay, so what troops? And I particularly paid attention to the low tier, because troops are expensive and you can get by with low tier. If you can get by with low tiers, that will go ahead and protect the high tiers. Like, that's the way to go. So we look here. The mounted killed a fair amount, and I'm at the point now I think I can add high tier cav, and they'll be all right. It will make my defense against archer rallies. They won't cut through all of them. So you look at what's doing the killing here. And the 14s did an all right amount. The ground ended up eating up and tying it up. The 15s got wiped, and then the 14s took a beating too. But so let's go down, and then we see, okay, the T12 killed almost 1 million. The T11 killed 4 million. So with that being said, like, my thought is I've already got a lot, and I don't want to build that high of a tier troop. So I'm looking further down the way. The T10s killed a lot. The T9s killed a lot. But I'm looking towards the bottom. So in this case, like, the 5s killed a lot. The 4s did okay. 3s killed about 1 million. 2s killed over 1 million. And 1's killed over 1 million. So with that being said, you're like, okay, well, I could definitely buff up the higher tier, or the low tier, like T1 and T2 cav. I should be buffing those. I should be adding numbers there. And that's going to protect against the ground, because I'm not actively debuffing ground in my subs. I'm just working off the extra debuffs that I get. So when you look at this, you're like, okay, what low tiers? 1s and 2s killed a lot, so I can add more 1s and 2s, and, maybe add some 3s. And even 4s. So it's like, keep working on those lower tiers, because it's not just for defense. I mean, it is for defense and tying up rallies, but also it will do some killing against certain troop types. And this is my point, is go in, look at your most recent reports, and then build, and then decide. So it's all going to be science. You're not going to base anything off what anyone else is saying about how to build. You're going to go into your report. You're going to take a look and see what troops are doing what. And that's going to be how you build. So the next one, and this was a siege. So with this one, this is probably going to be pretty basic. It's probably pretty much going to be siege versus siege, but we still take a look and see. So the 13s did a lot of killing, which you would expect. The 12s, they all did a lot of killing here. But I kind of want to look at like the ground and the mounted, which doesn't look like that really engaged that much. But I thought further down the way I saw something. And for here, I'm like kind of looking at what lower tiers did any killing, and in this one, it doesn't tell us very much. But let's look at the 4. So this is like a big controversy in Evony is the T4. So in this case, 29 million died. Maybe because they move forward and tie up siege. Like maybe it helps. I'm not going to get into that debate because some people get pretty fired up about it. But for argument's sake, let's do this and say the T4s are negative here. The T4s are what's giving up points. And so we'll just, for sake of argument, let's say that and say, 1.7 versus 2.8. It was still positive. But let's go through this next one. So this next one's Archer, and it happened shortly after. So with this, we look and see what does the killing, ground. And then in looking at this, what I took from this, what I decided to build here from looking at this Archer was some more low-tier cav, some more low-tier ground, some more low-tier Archer, and some low-tier siege, and I'll show you why. So they got through my 12s, and the 11s stopped the rally. And then we see the ground. And so here the T9 siege, which this is what you'd expect, right? Because T10 and T9, T8, they're generally going to do most of the killing against the Archer rally. But as we go down, we see that the lower tier siege is actually doing quite a bit of killing. And this is the point that I wanted to make was when I was hit with the siege rally, 29 million of my T4 siege died. And they were negative at that point, clearly. But when we look at it, we're like, okay, their high tier siege was killing my low tier siege. And the low tier siege did not do much. So that is that. Let's just say that that's a straight negative on that. But then when we look here, the T4s are killing almost 700,000 out of this rally. And then you look at your low tier ground, which is what you would expect the low tier ground to do some killing. Expect the low tier mounted to do very, very little, which it did. So when we look at the T4 siege, it killed 681,000. So with this, and when you look at what they sent, you're without a doubt that the T4 was massively positive in this report. So at a minimum, I'd say with a double rally, you're going to be evened out as far as the loss. But when they're sending T15 and T16 Archer, you can kind of take to the bank that that's probably positive. And then we go on to the next. And again, well, he didn't have T15s open. But yeah, in this case, we're looking at it and it's like that siege is potentially killing T15 and T14. You'll never know because of how it's set up. They don't want us to know exactly how the dynamic works because the game would probably come to an end rather quickly. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like very potentially, and of course, the T4 siege is going to create negative points against the siege rally. But it is definitely, without a doubt, going to create positive points against the Archer rally. And that's undeniable. I mean, yeah, it's only 700,000, so it's not even 1 million, but most likely it's 700,000 of high tier troops at a minimum, T10 and up at a minimum. So at the end of the day, it will equal out what it loses against the siege. It's going to equal out against the Archer. So there's value in that. But my whole point on this build segment was that's what you do. Go in, go down. I like to go down to the bottom and just see what is killing what in these rallies, and then build the numbers there, because if it's killing a significant amount, if you add more to the tiers that are doing a lot of killing, they're going to do more killing, and then potentially tying up the march, which you see, as far as what it got on my mounted, it stopped at T11. So I only sacrificed a few tiers, 14, 13, and 12, that were already depleted. And then also I didn't have as many in those tiers as I do now. So it will definitely do better. But that's like my thought is, before you build troops, look at your most recent report, look at what your troop tiers did or did not do, and whether they killed or they just tied up the rally and died. That's what you go for. Build those troops that are doing, whether it's tying up or doing killing. Look at those troops and build those, and your account will be better, your defense will be better. And that's how I built, and I kind of recommend that because there's so many different builds. There's different ways to build a keep, defensive or otherwise. So what I did was trial and error. I looked at reports. I saw what worked and what didn't. And then ultimately, I built towards that with that knowledge. So with that being said, that would be, if someone asked me generically, what troops should I build? That would be my answer, is look at your reports, see what your reports tell you, and then that will tell you. And for the most part, building like this, my defense just got better with this concept. So with that being said, that's the conclusion of this video. It's been a while since I put one out, so I just wanted to cover some of the new stuff. People most likely will ask about the ground general, the new ground general, and they're both good, in my opinion. They are really good ground generals, but also keep in mind, new generals are always going to come out, so don't buy heaps of packs just for the general. That being said, that's the end of this video for me.